Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for Reconstructing Truth. My name's Aaron, this is Caleb. We're grateful just to be with you guys this week. And so we're coming in to you. This is Thursday. It's super early. I don't think we've ever recorded at
this early.
8 o'clock in the morning. So you can see we're C4ing it up. Coffee.
That's normal though.
Yeah, but you're on your second one. And
yeah, I am.
And so I'm just concerned about your heart. But,
I'm glad you're concerned about the condition of my heart, man.
But we want you to check us out on social media, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, all of those things that help our channel to grow, help to spread what we're doing. I know in our new YouTube channel, obviously switching over, like our subscriber rate is low, so you can help. So go on all your devices and subscribe through different accounts.
Go ahead and make some fake emails up and some fake
Everybody's
profiles.
doing it.
That's right.
And, just you could also start a little side hustle. You can, pretend to be, some Middle Eastern prince. And,
right.
So, and we want all
I've won the lottery, but I can't get the money out of my country. So,
yeah, whoever subscribes to our channel the most will promote you as the Middle Eastern prince. But
it's a contest.
Yeah, it is a contest.
Contest we're running.
And last week, if you didn't check last week's episode out, go back and look at that. We talked about worship, and Cable and I both had just a couple people come up to us. That
actually got feedback.
Yeah, actually got feedback. It's great. It's great to hear from people.
Real people.
Yeah, real people in person.
Yeah.
Not just the ones we make up in our minds to feel better, about ourselves and what we're doing. But
just our spouses.
Yeah.
I didn't like this.
Yeah, well, only your spouse does, and my spouse doesn't listen.
She didn't even listen to you.
Yeah, I love her excuse.
Can you blame her,
She's
though?
like, oh, what else? She's like, I listen to you talk all the time. So
just one more hour is just way too much for Janelle. She's like, I can't handle it.
We could be married, or I can listen to your podcast. You choose. So
yeah, I tried to convince her, like, well, I'm on there.
Yeah, it's just not enough.
I'm trying not to let my feelings get hurt by that.
Yeah, I bet if I were not, like, if we do an episode and I'm too ill or something, she'll probably engage with that one.
That'd be hilarious. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, what's doing?
You should trick her into that. You should just tell her, I wasn't able to make it, so Caleb is the only one doing it, and see if she see if she listens.
See if it happens. Yeah, she probably will. Man. Anyway, so
that's awesome. I'm gonna try that sometime.
Today, we want to take a moment, and so we are wanting to do more kind of theology things that pertain a little more to our faith and how that correlates with culture. That was one of the reasons for shifting over to Reconstructing Truth from Let's Talk Recovery to kind of broaden that horizon. We wanted to push back against deconstructionism, things like that are prevalent in society today. And so as we were, Caleb and I, we talk more than just right now throughout the week, and send each other things that. Memes, things like that. But there's this one we came
Mostly
across.
Appropriate.
Yeah. There's one that really kind of wraps up society as a whole today, and brought us to the topic of idolatry and wanting to talk about that. So we've got this here. This guy clearly is an American. You can tell by how round he is. But religion, nah. They're made-up institutions designed to control you, and you can see that he's wearing, Pornhub, which or Pornhub, but anyways, Pornhub, Twitch, TikTok. He's got his McDonald's, his Netflix. Behind him here, he's got his prescription medication. What are these little doll things called again? Yeah, there's little doll things.
If you hadn't asked me that,
yeah.
The little the head bobble. They're like
I don't know.
Dadgummit.
People spend.
I know what you're talking about. There's they collect these things.
Yeah, now, a lot of adults collect them. Some kids do.
I wouldn't make fun of them because these things would probably be worth a lot of money here. It's the Beanie Babies of this generation.
Well, I made fun of the Beanie Babies of that generation during that generation, so I'm going to make fun of these people right now in this generation as well. If you have one of those, I'm judging you. So if that's you, if you're collecting those, a lot of judgment there. Can I get? Oh, look here. It doesn't change. I thought I could zoom it in. I cannot. Anyways, Caleb's like, I'm gonna find this.
I gotta find it because I know what it is, and I just can't think of what.
But that really is a picture of society right now, right? Funkos, yeah.
Funkos. F-U-N. Yeah, make sure you say that right.
Yeah.
F-U-N-K-O.
I'm just not going to say it.
Yeah, it's these things. Temu, I don't want to get your app.
Now I'm judging Caleb for having Temu.
I don't. Yeah, That's why it's trying to make me buy it. I clicked on the wrong link.
Show us your app collection. Just to make sure.
Yeah, now it's going to Walmart. But those things.
Yeah.
You said Funkos.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, we give ourselves over to all of these things, right? And we're so driven by that. And it is. I mean, corporations and these organizations, these things like this, it's maybe not control that they want, but they want our time. They want our attention. They want something from us, and the things that they want are what God's calling to us to give Him as well, right? Pieces of our lives, and we value them. People will, get shopping is one of those things. I mean, you look at Black Friday when people are beating the crap out of each other during the holiday season. Over deals. We come to the church. We have a little place called $5 Gold Diggers here. Which if you're into the tweaker store, good for you. My wife is, so if you're offended by that, I make fun of her too. So we have the church, and the church owns everything, and we have $5 Gold Diggers. Their first day is on a Saturday or something. If you're ever up here on a Saturday morning, there is a line of people waiting for hours to get into $5 into a bin store. And I've never seen a line like that outside of our church, or any church for that matter, right? People putting lawn chairs out. That's a disturbing picture of where we are at culturally, right? That we put, and I'm not saying you should be outside of the church for hours waiting to get in. That's kind of silly, you're not going to miss anything. But if you had to, you wouldn't. You just wouldn't show up. I mean, that's the truth of it. And what I am saying is, why are you putting that much stock in stuff that disappears? And so when we begin to do that, we're starting to push over into idolatry, right? And we're starting to get into an unhealthy place with almost a worship of things. And this is a struggle that all of us fall into in some form or fashion or another, right? We have to have this awareness so we can bring balance to it. And even though I don't wait outside the bin store, if you've seen the things I purchase on Amazon, you would look and be like, that's stupid. You're ridiculous. That's a waste of money. Did you know there's starving kids in China? That's what, whatever,
Right, yeah.
And I get that, right? And so we have to evaluate. So we just want to spend a little bit of time today talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, humans are idol-making machines. I mean, you put something, bright and shiny in front of us, and that becomes our new favorite thing. And I mean, and there's a reason for that. That became the first commandment. That, because God knew that we would look to put anything in His place. We were just always looking for something to worship. You read the Bible, and Moses goes up the mountain. Leaves the people of Israel. Down there, and he's like coming back. He's like, I left you alone for 5 minutes, and you've created an idol. And they're like, no, we didn't. It just made itself. Like, I don't know. We threw this gold into a pot, and it just came out as a golden calf. I mean, like I said, God delivers the people. They see what God does in their lives, right? I mean, they're a visual manifestation multiple times, no less. Throughout the exodus of the people from Egypt, and like I said, Moses just leaves. He's like, I feel like a parent. Like, listen, I'm just going out for just a little bit. Don't burn the house down, right? And that's Moses goes, and
this is really bad, but on image quality. But you've got
if you're not watching, we got a picture of Aaron with the golden calf, and then the. From
Key and Peele.
You done messed up, AA, Ron? Yeah, exactly. But I mean that is. I mean, it goes all the way back to Adam and Eve. I mean, God said, "Here's one thing I need you to not do for me," is leave this tree alone. But it's the visible. It's what's in front of us. And so this, it's like, well, this is what now is the most important thing to me, because I can see it, I can hold it, I can, worship it. And that seems to have been mankind's struggle throughout. And like, if you've read your Bible, you read through the Old Testament, it's just a constant reminder. All the prophets in there are just constantly telling people, stop worshiping other things.
Yeah.
Stop with the idols. Stop with the Asherah poles. I need to do like a study into what is the Asherah pole, because that is something I don't know. I just get curious. Because when I read, I don't know how you are. I'm sure you're the same as me, because you're a kind of graphics guy. But when you read, you get visual.
Oh yeah.
And so in my head, all I see are these just plain telephone poles. It's just the image that pops in my head. I'm like, why would you want to worship that?
What's weird is mine's kind of like this palm tree looking thing with a bulb on the top.
That's a lot better than mine.
But I know that's not what it is.
Mine's just like this poor single, like I said, just telephone type pole that I'm just like people standing around worshiping it. And then, and they always say that in the Bible, and they tore down the Asherah poles. And so then I just see all these just plain telephone poles falling down in the wilderness that people are worshiping.
It could be something along.
We have a visual representation. Again, another reason for you to consume this content on YouTube. Where you can see
potentially what an Asherah pole looked like. So
I could see then why the Hebrew is for that is round things or dung, because that does kind of look dungish, shall we say?
I don't know if
that's an accurate representation.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in. Some of them have them as some other things.
I'm sure they've got some sort of image or something. Yeah. They've got to have some sort of face or something, because we, as humans, we like to worship things that look like us. So, but that, that brings me to the point of, that is the word. I was telling Aaron that as we were talking about this episode that I find interesting is that the word in the Bible that
potentially that
that's weird. Yeah. The Bible or the word that's used in the Bible to talk about pretty much almost any time the Bible talks about idols, if you have like the New Living Translation, it'll give you when there may be some uncertainty about what the word actually means, there'll be a note. And in the New Living Translation, it always says round things. That's kind of the word, or that's the translation, which then they go probably dung. Right.
Yeah.
And so, which I think is funny. I was like, this is, they're buying into a bunch of BS is what it kind of roughly translates into. And that's what idolatry is you're buying into a bunch of crap and, worshiping that. And that's, as a culture, we're really struggling with that right now, because we're putting everything into the place of primacy in our lives.
Yeah.
Whether it be sports, culture, money, fame. Right now, that's a big thing. Clicks and social, being in that, the influencer, or I'll just say whatever.
End of last year, man, the number of kids, and it was a elementary school thing. One of those, they do the graduation and all that stuff that's just stupid, but nobody wants to be there. Can't stand the teachers for that.
See my kid graduate to 4th grade.
Yeah. Oh, you did so good.
Way to not fail.
Yeah. You did so good at nap time. I'm so proud of you. But during that, the number of kids that got up and was like, I want to be a YouTuber. Like,
yeah.
Like, somebody go smack that kid just right across, like open-handed.
Oh, their parents are probably like, oh, yeah, I'm so proud of you, Jimmy.
No.
Yeah.
No, get a life.
No, I've seen that. They've done that with the study, polls or whatever, and I can't remember the percentage, but it was scary. Like the number of
contribute to society.
The number of kids. Yeah, I mean, I'm not kids. I'm like young people who are like, that's a career goal. Yeah, is social influencer, and I'm like, that's sad.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, well, it's not only sad; it's just dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
As a culture, I mean, our culture already is in its
especially
final death throes. Like,
especially considering how you get there. Like, you don't actually have to contribute to anything. There's a channel, man, man, it's like I can't remember. It's Whistling Diesel or something. I don't know. But it's this young guy, and he just like destroys stuff.
Yeah.
And so he's made a bunch of money tearing up cars and trucks and expensive things, and to buy more of them, to tear them up, and that's what he does.
Yeah.
And,
Will it blend? I mean, that's well, and I've heard that channel's even gone like almost. So will it blend is what it sounds like. They put things in a blender and go, will it blend?
Huh.
But then I heard somebody talking about how that, like, it's this may be unsubstantiated. Well, it is substantiated that they like talk about almost atheistic things now too, on top of will it blend. So that's great. But yeah, we're sitting there as a culture, just holding the phone to our face. Look at me as we drive this car off the cliff.
Yeah.
And it's like all that money and everything's gonna be great when we stop existing. I mean, you look at our birth rates, like we're below replacement rate, and right now, which is we can talk about all the stuff, the politics and the money and everything, and it's like we're not having babies. We just don't. We cease to exist within a couple generations, and that's because we're too busy staring.
I'm going to
like
stop you right there
narcissists
because
into
a lot
our
of those
phones.
people need to stop reproducing anyway. So
yeah, well, we're getting there.
yeah, if you've never seen the video for Idiocracy,
Oh yeah,
what is it called?
the movie?
Pilot? No, not the movie. Like when the preview. Just watch the preview.
Yeah, the movie.
And just look up the preview for Idiocracy, and then you'll hope that more people stop reproducing.
Don't watch the movie with kids.
Yeah, don't watch.
Yeah, what used to be a comedy is now a documentary, though, on our culture. But yeah, I mean, you think about that's the. But we're the story of narcissists. So Greek mythology, where Narcissus just goes and stares at himself in his reflection in the water day after day after day until he finally falls in and drowns. I mean, that's where we're at right now. So.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, it's a product of idolatry, right? And that's we idolize ourselves, and we idolize people that are doing these things, and we endeavor to be like them. And it's like, well, they made $1 million being an idiot. I can be a bigger idiot.
Yeah,
everyone knows how stupid I can be.
I can trade in my morals or my integrity or whatever for money. I mean, and yeah.
And so we're gonna take a moment. We're gonna talk about. So we've got 5 up here. It could end up being more. Kind of big areas of idolatry in our country right now. And the most it being Super Bowl season. Will probably be the most offensive to everybody. So we'll start with that. And so I want to kick it off with a picture right here. If you're on audio only, man, you should check it out on YouTube. It's sports fans, and so. And just today, I mean, you look at these stadiums, tens of thousands of people. How many people go into a pro football stadium?
I mean, well, was it for this last week? I heard him say it was like between 65 and 70,000, I think.
That's insanity.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine that many people showing up to worship God? Like, what examples do we have? Very, very few, if any, of things like that taking place. But throughout, and that's just football. But we have all of these sports teams, and they show up, and I mean, dressed ridiculous like the team, all of that. And in one sense, there's nothing wrong if that's what you want to spend your time doing. I'm not saying you're a terrible person because you put on a dog face and you wear a jersey and you wouldn't watch a football game. Nothing wrong with sports. Nothing wrong with any of that. Nothing wrong with having fun and enjoying life. But it becomes a problem where our culture is such that a lot of these people. I mean, men, I know men personally who will go to football games and go do this, but they won't come to church with their family. They won't lead their family in the things of God. That's where it becomes an issue. So obviously people in this picture I can't make any type of judgment on, but that's a thing that takes place, right? And not only will they not show up to church, they're not going to have any type of enthusiasm for the things of God. And these are eternal things that transform families and generations and legacies. And I mean, it's the God of the universe presented himself to us, and nobody can get excited about that. Or these same people that will do stuff like that will be like, well, you're being weird because, you raised your hands and worshiped or you jumped around a little bit, but they'll act like, jackholes on the side of the ball field and have excitement and hoop and holler and scream. But when it comes to any type of worship or anything, there's not going to be anything like that. And so we got to begin to look at these things and say, is this healthy or unhealthy in our lives personally, wherever you may be?
Yeah, this one I can definitely speak to because I used to be this way. Here in Oklahoma, obviously we don't have a pro football team, so college football reigns supreme. And somebody who graduated from one of the major universities in the state, like you do, and I didn't care before, but it's like, well, I've got an attachment to this place, and so now I care, and I used to go to all the games, and I mean, I love football, and I would go and after graduating, watch my TV, and then if we lose, it would just ruin my day, and it was like, this isn't right.
Yeah.
It's one thing to go and enjoy it, and disappointed now if they lose. Well, heck, I can't even say that anymore. Half the time, if I see the games just going south for my team, like I just turn it off. I don't even finish watching. It's like, there's no point wasting my time here. And so, but the problem comes when it does, when that becomes the place of primacy, that belongs to God, not your sports team. And so if you're sitting there spending all your time, getting frustrated, like if that's flowing over into how you treat your family, as mainly again talking to guys here, because we're the ones more likely to do in this arena where you're like, something that wouldn't bother you before, that your kids do, like you get snappy at them because your team lost. Like that's a problem. Like obviously we've moved into idolatry when you're spending all your time, I can't go into doing fantasy football stuff. And I mean, like if you can rattle off stats and all sorts of minutia about players and people for a game that you don't play, people you don't know personally, especially in the area of college, football, it's like this bunch of 18, 19-year-old kids, and you're obsessing about them. That's weird. Yeah. If you think about it.
And you don't know any scripture.
Yeah, but you couldn't, can't recite, more than 2 scriptures. That's a problem.
I think 2 would be a lot for a lot of people.
It would be. I wholeheartedly, I asked somebody, 2 scriptures and John 3:16 can't be one of them. Even though even that's
some of you are like, what's John 3:16?
Yeah, I was about to say that's not even as ubiquitous as it used to be. But yeah, so that's become, sports. Well, and the thing is, again, culturally, when we talk about culture a lot here, Christians have been on the sidelines. We have checked out, totally checked out from our society as far as like driving the narrative. Yeah. And, that's because we're too, I'd rather just sit at home and watch whatever game, than get involved at my school board or get involved in local politics or get involved with, what local causes, whatever. I mean, there's so many things that we could be a part of that we could, again, drive the narrative as Christians that we just checked out of because it's like, nah, I'd rather just, sit at home and consume next sports product. I mean, and we're experiencing the ramifications of that right now. Yeah. I mean, we don't get to the place we're at culturally where we're having to worry about the stuff that's presented to our children on, in cartoons, or we don't get to that place if we stay engaged in the culture, and we've totally checked out and we've given away our responsibility to be involved because we'd rather watch people play a game.
Yeah. Or, we even do it with our children. Like your kid is very unlikely to be a professional athlete, but will hold sports up, living, vicariously through them or what have you. And they will definitely face the judgment seat, right? But, we miss church or don't put any type of investment there even on the other side of it. And it's just one of these things. It's especially in America. I say especially in America. There's European countries where they burn the city down when their teams lose. So
that's true.
It's
probably an unhealthy relationship there. Yeah.
So it's a global problem. I mean, it is. And it's this big deal. And what we've done, it becomes idolatry. That is the definition of it. And we have to be careful. So this next one, this is a prevalent thing, and in so many categories. It's very broad, but it's addiction. Addiction, is giving up everything for one thing, type of mentality. But I mean, whether it's drugs, or we go back to the meme with the guy wearing the Pornhub shirt, right? Things like that. Food,
social media.
I mean, we could sit here and go on and on and on about this addiction culture we have, and it's so unhealthy, and that is. It's so detrimental. And there's, obviously, Caleb and I, you guys know, we work specifically in this, every week, dealing with people every week who suffer from some form of addiction or another. And people burn their lives down for it, and they don't show up, and they don't engage with God. They don't. God's supposed to be our comfort, and our addiction becomes our comfort. He's supposed to be our refuge and our safety, and addiction becomes that. He's supposed to be our counselor, but our addiction becomes the counselor. It begins to take the place of God in every form or fashion, and we surrender everything to it.
Yeah. No, that's well said. Usually find it with the people that we deal with in addiction, that there's, we're just trying to make ourselves feel good.
Yeah.
And that's become, once you've gotten hooked, whether it be alcohol, drugs, or whatever, that's become our go-to way to feel good and to find value, and maybe to, especially like in the area of social media, where, I'm going to post something and then I'm going to check every 5 seconds to see if people liked it, because I'm trying to get social affirmation that way. And, or you're just nosy and want to see what's going on with everybody all the time. But yeah, if you can't, you can't put those things down. And, again, I'm to harp on social media a little bit. We think that that's a, it's not drugs or alcohol, and we get tricked into thinking that you can't be addicted to things that aren't drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
That's why here in our recovery program we moved away from the word addiction and say struggle, because people just think addiction just means drugs, alcohol, and that's not the case. And especially now with our phones and they said social media, plenty of research has been done to show that there is an addictive side to those things, and not only are they addictive just kind of by nature, but they're intentionally programmed to be addictive, and to trigger those areas in your brain that will provide that kind of addictive response, those dopamine hits. And so and that's we need to be starting to ask ourselves that question. It's like, where is that hurt at, or why am I, what about, and that's what we do here. We try to teach people is to stop, kind of take control of your brain again and start going, well, what am I trying to change? What's this feeling I'm trying to change? And, where's this kind of, a lot of times there's kind of this a deep hurt or a hole, and we're trying to fill it with, like I said, drugs, alcohol, social media, whatever. And so the thing is to start asking ourselves, well, where is this hurt, and why do I feel this way?
Yeah.
And start to fix that, and the way to fix that is, is an eternal God that loves and values you and gives you purpose, instead of, your next, binge drinking, whatever. That's not going to fulfill you, but right now you're just looking for those temporary hits. I just want to feel good in the moment. This is all I know what to do. And so, but yeah, we just become, that addiction does become kind of our idol. And we really saw it with marijuana they got, I thought, like alcoholics, like they know that they're alcoholics, and they know that they're like, I shouldn't be drinking this much, or what. For the most part, they know that. There's a few that are, they I guess there's that line between, being kind of a closet alcoholic and I just have a pack every night or whatever. But then you get in the ones that are like heavy users, and they generally know that, it's out of control. heavy marijuana users, man, they're like, well, God made it, so it's okay. I mean, there's like the level of rationalization around that is a lot different than, and I mean, in our experience.
Yeah,
like,
that argument too, just like, well, God created it. Well, yeah, and then the world became sinful and broken, and all of God's creation was distorted.
Yeah.
I mean,
God created a lot of things.
Yeah, what a stupid argument. Stop
God
smoking.
created lions. Go pet one for me, I mean.
Yeah. Which, lions, again, man, corrupted by sin.
Yeah.
But it's like, once you stop smoking so much weed and go read some scripture as far as that goes. And I know there's going to be people that listen to this and be like, oh, there's some medicinal uses. Man, I get that, okay?
Yeah.
So, yes, for a percentage of people. But the amount of people that claim medicinal use on that is that's not accurate either. So, but I mean, opiates have medicinal uses too. But there's still heroin addicts dying in the street and fentanyl overdoses everywhere, and fentanyl has medical uses too. So, we can go down that line. Alcohol has medical uses too. And and you wanted to play the medical card. I mean, with alcoholics, let's take me for instance. I used to claim it for social anxiety. It helps me socialize.
Yeah.
How many people do that? Well, that sounds really similar to all the people smoking weed for anxiety.
Yeah.
What it was.
No,
I'm sure it's unrelated.
Like I said, I think I found it fascinating. Once that became legal here, and all those closet marijuana users, well, not all of them, but a lot of them kind of came out of the closet and just like, I mean, just. I don't know, the way they look at that versus, like I said, an alcoholic and alcohol, a lot different.
Yeah.
And it is almost idolatry. I mean, well, it's all kind of idolatrous, but the reverence in which they hold up, the devil's lettuce is.
Well, yeah, and then it's like
just joking.
We need to tattoo our medicine on us, images of our medicine.
Yeah.
We need to wear pictures of our medicine
cap with
it's embroidered on there.
Nobody's walking around with a
Prozac.
beanie with Prozac or like a needle,
It's just like
it's a whole it's a culture, and it's just
so within the church that should be alarming, right? That you talked about a golden calf type of thing. Now the people who aren't doing that, they have much more of a voice when it comes to it's my medicine. If you're not wearing the gear, the moment you put any of that crap on and you go wearing it around, I call BS on your claim of being a medicinal user. It's like, nope. Clearly that's your baby. Nobody's gonna, can say anything about that.
I'm wearing my insulin hoodie.
Right? I mean, it's just, come on.
It is. Yeah. I mean, if like I said, that's what I'm talking about. Like, if you want to sit there and tell it, well, it's not idolatrous. Look at the culture based around marijuana. Like I said, anyway. I mean, that's a whole nother.
Yeah, alcohol does the same thing. I mean, I used to have Jack Daniel clothes. And Corona.
That is true.
And it's same type of
stuff. Yeah.
But it's and we know people who walk around with alcohol. They have a lot of alcohol paraphernalia, for lack of better terminology.
Yeah.
They're typically alcoholic. Trust me. Me.
Yeah.
That was one. Or what is it? Remember all the Marlboro gear from the 90s?
Yeah.
Those people have cancer and COPD right now.
Joe Camel.
Yeah, Joe Camel.
All the Joe Camel shirts and stuff. Yeah.
Dude, I mean, it's just like that we're not called. I mean, it's just,
Anyway,
that'll become the whole episode.
Yeah.
So this next part's gonna be dangerous waters too. So I'll let you introduce it.
You bet. I'd love to. Politics, man. Our politics have become where we get our when your favorite politician, and this is and this is why we're going to talk about it, because we try to we're going to stay away from specific political discussion, but this pertains regardless of your whatever letter you have behind your name, because it is. Very evident on both sides, and this is the thing, is that our hope has become that this politician will save us. And this is, if your politics or your morality shifts based on your particular politician that you want to support, what they think, then they definitely have the wrong place in your heart.
Oh yeah.
If you're, and this drives me nuts. I mean, it's just especially conservative Christians that like you see waffling in again where it's like, okay, you supposedly believe in the Bible, and then you're going to support things and people who out and out reject and live out lives that are in opposition to what you as a Christian say you believe. Like, it's one thing to be a sinner, right? We're all sinners, but there should be some sort of kind of, I don't want to sin.
Conviction.
Conviction. There's a
type of repentance.
I'm not in a daily defiance of that. Yeah. And there's so much of that happening politically, and then people are like, well, but we gotta go along with this because it's like, no, you don't. We and that has failed. That takes me back to our first point, where we're too busy with sports to invest any time into knowing the ethics and the morals of the people that we're voting for. We just see they're an incumbent and we're like, yeah, we'll just vote for them again. That starts at a local level, right? People get into Congress and to Senate and to president after they've come out of this, whatever state. And we put people out there that we have, I can't be bothered to spend any time learning about this person or that person, what they believe and what kind of stances they take. Or, maybe we voted them in. I can't be bothered to check out what they've done for the past 4 years, 6 years, whatever, 2 years. I can't be bothered to because I got to watch, sports team. And so we'll just vote for them again. And I mean, that's our whole basis of government is to be able to each time, well, this person isn't representing us. I'm gonna vote them out. Or, well, I've just got to win, so I'm gonna just ignore what it is they've been doing for the past however many years. Yeah. Or morally, ethically, because they've got the right letter after their name. And that's it's destroying us as a nation and a culture.
Yeah. And it is. Again, it's both sides. I'm going to use the previous two presidents. That way I'm digging both political parties here. You got one guy who's held up as the next Messiah, who's clearly immoral, clearly leveraging Christianity and all of these things. Like he's just suddenly found faith. But I mean, but still in his life is a guy who is the liar. And then you've got the other side, and somebody who holds up abortion as things like that. It's just like you got two immoral people, and so and you've got Christians on both sides backing these people as and it's not even an ignorance. It's just an outright ignoring of the things that they do and acting like they're good people when they're not good people. Neither one of them are good people. And this is, when it comes to politics, this is what we're presented with time and time again. And, as, supposedly, living in a country that's predominantly Christian, how are they getting into office? Any of them on either side, because I'll hear the argument, well, it's just what we've got. It's whatever. Again, whether you're got a D or an R that you're going for. Again, if we're supposedly majority Christian country, how did they get there in the first place? If we're looking at our options and saying, I'm going to vote for the person who looks the most Christ-like, and then we put all of our hope and stock into the political system. And then, we fall into the dangers of putting our hope and our stock into America. America is going to be our savior. The next president is going to be our savior. If we just get this guy voted in, or whoever he is, well, that's going to make everything better. Well, where is God at in all of this? How are you putting your stock in the things of faith? Paul tells us that in, I can't remember the book right now. It's too early. Again, we started recording way too early, I think. But we're not citizens of this place, right? We're citizens of heaven. But we put this investment in this, forgetting that it's God's first, and then around here, especially around the you know, the big voting year. So we bring out our pray, vote, pray type of mentality, and you know, we're gonna pray about who we're gonna vote for. We're gonna vote, and then we're gonna pray regardless of who won, because we're citizens of heaven first. You know, God is our commander in chief above all, but even in that vote, you know, we're gonna try to take a moral stance and vote not for politics but for morality, and you know, not vote for policy but vote for the things of God. And if we did that, quite frankly, the political landscape would be completely different. Most of the people in office wouldn't be there if that was the type of attitude that the church as a whole had here in America.
Yeah. I mean, since you brought up the you know, we just go, well, these are the people we have to choose from. You know, it's funny talking about that was, you know, polls show overwhelmingly on both sides of the aisle that neither Republicans or Democrats want to have what's about to happen this year, which is going to be Biden versus Trump again. It's just going to happen. And yet, then, you know, polls overwhelmingly show that these are who you're going to vote for into, you know, through the primaries to make happen again. And it's like, we don't see the disconnect there. And it's like, well, I don't want this to happen, but I got to vote for it. It's like, well, why, you know, well, I mean, you know, yes, I get in this year, obviously, you know, the pieces are set. The board is set. This is what it's going to be. But we're here because of all the other things we've been talking about, and we will talk about. We're too busy with that stuff to be able to spend any time going, you know, who is this person? And, you know, the most successful party is the incumbent party. I mean, that is, once you get in, you stay in. I mean, this last election we had, the midterm, everybody, you know, discontent in our country is at a fairly, I'm not going to say an all-time high, because I think discontent was pretty high in the 1860s. But if you don't know your history, I don't know what to tell you. But it's incredibly high right now. And in the midterm, there was no significant incumbent that lost. You know, we're just like, we're so unhappy. Here's another 4. You know, here's another 2 years. Here's another 6 years. Because again, we can't be bothered to spend time to find out if this person actually represents our values. You know, we're more interested in the letter, which is exactly why we're in this position that we're in. And you know, and so again, that and then the last thing and I said it before, I'm going to say it again because we cannot make this point enough as Christians, is that if your morals are changing based on the person you're voting for, if you're given a pass to the person you're voting for, you know, from a Christian standpoint, well, it's okay when they do it. Like, that is wrong. That is idolatry. You are wrong, and you need to hold yourself and them to a higher standard. And you got to start, you know, we can't do anything about this one, but we can start, you know, making a commitment now that I'm going to get invested into, you know, understanding locally who it is we're sending in to represent us in our government, and that they actually do represent a Christian worldview. But that also means that you have to know what a Christian worldview is. And that's part of the problem also.
Stop making excuses there as well. This next one, and we're taking forever on this. We'll probably be able to touch a little bit. But TV's movies kind of in the personalities, and so this is kind of like an altogether type of thing. You know, we make a lot of excuses for the type of content, and we'll just really engage in that to an unhealthy degree, right? Where, you know, screen time today, and I know that includes social media and stuff, but just the amount of time that we'll engage with Netflix or you know, whatever your streaming service is. I mean, and we go to that for comfort, right? And we binge watch for hours, and we don't do other things that we should or need to. You know, becomes unhealthy, and it becomes idolatry. But then we take it a step further, and we look at these actors and actresses and the type of pedestal that we place them on. and we allow them to sway us in our morality and our policies and our voting. And it's like, who's this person? Like, what did they actually, like, what gives them any type of right or ability to speak into any of these things? We give them a voice in religion. Yeah. It's like, who are they?
Insanely uneducated people for the most part. Like, it's the craziest thing that this is who we get our information from.
Yeah.
Like, or as far as our opinions and our stuff. It's like, these people get paid a lot of money.
They got a liberal arts degree.
Yeah. If they have a degree at all. But it's like, you're paid when you act like someone other than yourself.
Yeah.
That's what makes you popular, is when you don't act like you. And this is the person, but then when they're themselves, and we're just like, yes, please tell me what to believe. Yeah. I'm just like, what? And right now we're having the perfect marriage of this in between the first one and this one, Taylor Swift and Kelsey, like the Travis Kelsey thing. I'm like, I can't get away from. I don't ever click. I have various news aggregator sites that I like to do. And it'll feed me headlines based on what kind of what it interests you, or whatever. But I've never clicked on one. I have zero interest in Taylor Swift and whoever she's dating this time, and Travis Kelsey, the guy from Kansas City, and it just keeps constantly. And I'm always going in there. I'm like, not interested, trying to get it to go away. You cannot get away from these two. It's crazy.
Well, and that's something too. Like, we look. Like, let's take relationships with people in Hollywood and things like this that are entertainers. They have the worst marriages and relationships. The divorce rate is insane.
Yeah.
The sexual immorality is insane. And I'm going to go with the last type of popular one. I remember the Bradgelina. What was that?
Bradgelina.
Yeah, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, Brad Pitt
that type of thing. And it's just like
old man.
Yeah, I know.
But I don't know what the current one is.
Yeah, you cannot criticize me in this area. Whoever this other guy is with Taylor Swift. First off, I couldn't pick Taylor Swift out of a lineup, and I don't even know this other guy's name, much less pick him out of a lineup. But those become our pictures of like relationships. And I know another one.
Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah, I'm gonna do one current. Machine Gun Kelly and
Megan Fox.
Megan Fox. I don't
know how you look at Machine. I just look at that guy and I'm just like, what is wrong with you people?
People like, we got young people like propping this up as like the picture of relationship.
We've drank each other's blood.
Yeah, like. Oh,
what?
It's not idol. We're not talking idols. I mean, idols are an old thing. That's something Old Testament. Idols aren't a thing currently. And you got these people literally drinking each other's blood.
Yeah.
I guess they mixed it up in something, but I've never drank my wife's blood, nor will I ever drink my wife's blood.
Nor should you?
Yeah. So again, this is what we're gonna look to for relationship advice, marital advice, dating advice, family. Anything of any degree. Why in the world you would ever listen to anything either one of those people said again after they drank each other's blood? I don't think they're together now either. Because again, this stuff pops up on your feed whether you want to look at it or listen to it or anything at all. Yeah. I will say I did read the article about the blood because I saw that pop up and I was just like, what kind of freaky,
I'm pretty sure Megan
crap is this?
Is trans in one of her kids too.
Who knows?
Maybe one or both, or I don't know.
It's just like, why do we put these people up on any type of pedestal? And think that that's healthy? When again, you want marriage advice, go to God, go to Scripture. You want family advice, go to God, go to Scripture. You want political advice, go to God, go to Scripture. Stop listening to these people. And I'm a guy. I love movies.
Yeah.
I love to engage with a good story. In that regard, and in all of those things, but I'm not going to listen to anything any of those people say about anything ever, unless like I might listen to if I happen to run into Dolph Lundgren and he's giving me advice on chemicals. I know he's actually a chemical engineer, and so I might listen to that. If he tells me how to raise my kids, I'm gonna be like, get lost, dude.
No, you're lame, Dolph.
yeah. No, you're lame. And that's just dating us too. Like people are listening,
and
like
punch you in the face.
Who's Dolph? Who's this guy?
It's one of the greatest actors of our time.
It is. I do love seeing how some of these people like have like these I say obscured, like it's like, oh, this guy was like apparently really bright in this particular area.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it? Here, I'm going to date ourselves a little bit more. He's like the bassist for like, was it The Offspring, the band The Offspring?
Oh,
He's like a rocket scientist or something like that, or
like a legit one.
Yeah, he knows more. I know this because I saw the comparison. Like, he knows more science than Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Yeah,
and
who's not a scientist?
Who's
by
not
the way.
really? Yeah, he's like electrical engineer or something.
Yeah, I don't think he even has like a legit degree.
Yeah, he's got a degree. I think his background's engineering. Look it up.
Yeah, I ain't look it up.
You sound like Joe Rogan. Hey Jamie, can you pull that up for me?
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, like, it's just insane. Like, you would never think to take your car to get an oil change, and then like as you're paying for it, you're like, hey, what's your opinion on marriage? Like, you wouldn't ask those people that. And these people are actors, actresses, personalities. Again, they don't know anything. If you ever listen to them talk, these people are black holes of ignorance. I mean, it just keeps going and going and going. And so I don't know. This one's hard for me because I've just never understood this. I'm like, you get to talking to somebody and you can sum up pretty quick. Hey, this person seems to have their head about them, or they're full of nonsense.
So Bill Nye has a bachelor's of science in mechanical engineering.
Yeah.
Yep. Which means he's really well positioned to tell us about global warming.
Yeah, or transgendering your children.
Yes.
Or multiple sexual relationships and how healthy that is. Yeah. He's an idiot. But yeah, I mean, you can talk to somebody, and like I said, within a few, if you get in a conversation just about, the topics of the day or whatever, you can fairly quickly pick up whether or not, I mean, at least most people can, you can fairly pick up quickly, whether they seem to know their stuff or they're kind of just, maybe these not a deep intellectual that I'm talking to here.
Yeah.
It's incredibly apparent with Hollywood people that they just, for the most part, now, I mean, there are a few of them that, actually are intellectual. There are a very slim few.
Yeah.
But for the most part, these people, you listen to interviews, you're like, God, they're morons. They're just, they all they know is acting, and they've never invested any time in learning or knowing how to think or anything. And so I've never understood this phenomenon. People like just buying, like, I would never listen to those people and be like, oh yes, please tell me more. Yeah. Please guide my life. I don't know. It's just, that one boggles my mind, but it is very true.
I'll let you introduce the greatest God.
The greatest God, the greatest American God of all, which summarizes all of these. I think,
it does.
For the most part, is comfort. Yeah. Comfort is the idol of choice for Americans today. Whatever makes us comfortable. Yep. Whatever why don't you go get involved at your school board? Because I'm at home comfortable. Yep. Why don't you get involved at your church? Because I'd rather stay home and be comfortable. Why don't I get involved with when my kid's coach is cussing in front of them, or being verbally abusive, or why don't I
quit coaching? All right, get off my back.
Yeah. Why don't I do anything about it? Well, because that would make me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Why don't I take a stand for Christ? That would make me uncomfortable. Yeah. I mean that sums up all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Why do I believe whatever Megan Fox or Travis or what's her name, Taylor Swift says about whatever? Because it would make me uncomfortable to go research for myself. Yeah. I mean, that's it. Why don't I look into my local politician before I actually go vote for somebody? Because I can't be bothered to spend time to go research the issues myself. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and we talk about the God of comfort, and here's why it's a thing of idolatry. Christianity is uncomfortable. It was actually meant to be, because we're dying to self. We're taking up our cross. We're pushing back against a culture that is sinful and immoral and broken. Actually, every aspect of our faith is meant to be uncomfortable, and we we kick over to comfort, right? And then it becomes our God, because it's like, I don't like what that scripture says. It's going to be difficult for me to actually abide by that, and we end up having a buffet Christianity, right? Cherry picking what we want. I'll have a little bit of that. I like that verse.
Like
about
all the verses where God's going to bless me.
Yeah. I'll have abundant life. I love Jeremiah 29:11, but
Yeah.
It's my favorite one to pick on. I mean, it's a good verse. I mean, just fun.
It doesn't apply to you.
We don't want the other things, right? There's a passage, and I've used this in times past, not on here, but it's one that I need to be reminded of. We did use it one time about cruel and obscene jokes, have nothing to do with these. It's Paul talking in one of his epistles. And it's hard.
Shut up, Paul.
Yeah, I just
don't have a sense of humor.
That's one that, every time I read it, I should know that by memory. I need to look it up after this, because it is one I need to commit to heart. Why? Yeah. Because it's uncomfortable every time I see it and read it and hear it. Another one that we don't like is if you fail to forgive others, God won't forgive you. Nobody's preaching about that, right?
No.
But if we're going to be healthy, wealthy, and blessed, man, then give me that. Pour that on me.
Yeah.
So we, because God is our comfort, we steer clear of things that are uncomfortable. And again, faith is uncomfortable, because faith is all about transforming us. Our faith, Christianity, God wants to change us. He loves you. But he loves you so much, he wants to mold and shape you. And so if you just imagine God working on you, I've seen this video. It was actually from this Get Guys. It's like a picture of God's coming and chiseling things off. And the guy's like, no, don't go there, type of thing. That's a picture of what God does. And it hurts to lose things that we hold on to. But again, that's what we're called to.
Yeah. The illustration we always like to, especially nowadays, the church is the hospital for sinners, right? It's the place, where you go where you're sick, right? That's what we always use that illustration, is that it's like a hospital. But I haven't ever been in a hospital where they don't try to heal you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty crappy hospital. And that's the thing, is that, you do come to Christ as a sinner, right?
Yeah.
You do come to Christ imperfect, and not that you become perfect afterwards, but we don't have that expectation that we have to do anything to earn our salvation. It's given to us, but after the fact, after that, if Christ is in your life, it's supposed to be, we're called to be in the world, not of the world. And the Bible also says, Jesus, he matters, right? What he says. He says, you have to die to yourself and take up my cross daily.
Yeah.
Daily. We're supposed to do that. Daily, we're supposed to be living in accordance to what God wants us to do. And that is uncomfortable. That is hard. And, our uncomfort today is nowhere near what it used to be, as far as, or today in other parts of the country. I know it's hard for us to understand this, but Christians are the most, still the most persecuted kind of religious group around the world, because while Christianity is dying here, in China and India and places like that, where incredibly population dense places, it's growing, and those people could be arrested, killed. They're having to meet in secret home churches and that kind of stuff. We can't be bothered to, just live out our faith here, where we're free to do that. We're totally in a, it's one of those things where it's kind of like the kid going to college that his parents are paying for his education. You don't value it when there's no stake in it. Yeah, and that's kind of where I think we're at. In America, is that we're totally free. So we don't have that conviction that they do. They don't, if you're going to follow Christ in China, you better mean it.
Oh yeah.
Because it's going to be, your faith's definitely going to be tested.
Yep.
And so, if you're not doing anything that makes you uncomfortable for your faith, then, are you living out your faith?
Yeah.
That's where I would leave that one. But we probably should throw in a verse or two.
Yeah. So we'll jump over here. So Exodus 20, verse 3, starting in verse 3, you must not have any God but me. You must not make for yourself an idol of any kind or an image of anything in the heaven or on earth or in the sea. You must not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord, your God, am a jealous God who will not tolerate your affection for any other gods. I lay the sins. I won't get into that part.
That's from the 10 suggestions, right?
Yeah, the 10 suggestions, and I will say this. The New Testament, it's actually more. We're in the. God calls us to. It's an issue of the heart, right? And so it's not the golden calf with Aaron. It does become more of all of these things, right? It's not going to a physical altar anymore. It becomes all about just the condition of the heart when it comes to these things.
Yeah, I mean, so okay, and I hate that I have to clarify this. That was a joke. That's not from the 10 suggestions. That's from the 10 commandments. That's the first commandment. And the first commandments aren't, or the 10 commandments aren't random. Like there's intentionality in the order, and there's a reason that one's first, and that's you shall have no other gods before me. I mean that is it. So God obviously thinks that's important, like of the most importance, and that's why it's first.
Yeah. Then we've got Romans 21 to 23 here, and we'll pull that up real quick. And it says, yes, they knew God, but they wouldn't worship him as God or even give him thanks. And they began to think foolish ideas of what God was like. As a result, their minds became dark and confused. Claiming to be wise, they instead became utter fools. Instead of worshiping the glorious, ever-living God, they worshiped idols made to look like mere people and birds and animals and reptiles. And we very much do that today, that same type of thing. It's changed and it's evolved, just like all of our culture has changed and evolved. And, instead of worshiping, an alligator-headed, type of idol, or, what is in Egyptian culture, it's got the kind of like eagle head thing going on.
Is it Osiris?
I don't know, but instead of that, we've moved to environmentalism. And
Mother Earth,
and I mean, and so all of these things have shifted, but they're still there. Instead of worshiping something to look like mere people, we just worship people. Which went on then too, but even to greater degree today with the advent of the internet and entertainment and stuff like that. We've just we have lots of gods in the form of people, and so it's been an ongoing thing.
Yeah, our greatest God today is self, and the idolization of self, which is why you get the social media influence culture and all that kind of stuff. And so we can't get enough of ourselves, and that has become our favorite.
Yeah, Romans 12:2 is the last one we want to share. And it says, don't copy the behaviors and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. Right? So we're not called to just go with culture, go with the flow, actually stand in contrast to that. We're, like Caleb said earlier, there's passages that speaks of the fact that we're called to be in the world, not of the world, right? And again, to resist these things and to show that there's a different way to live.
Yeah. No, it's good.
All right.
So now that we've totally trashed everything that you find fun, but I will say this at the end, to sum all this up a little bit, is that, none of these things, except for addiction, none of the things that we covered, other than addiction, in and of itself is necessarily bad, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about, I love football, I love movies also, like Aaron does. I love good TV shows, and
there's certain things we become addicted to that aren't bad. Sex in the confines of marriage is good, but when we take it outside of that, and it becomes an addiction and all of that, it's bad.
Right.
Food is good. I like food, but when it becomes an addiction, it's bad. So
when it takes the place of God in your life, when this becomes the thing that shapes you and drives you and determines, and when you place it in front of doing what's right morally, or what God's called you to do, right? And then that includes things that it's not the clouds opening up and God saying, you go do this. It's, I'm called to be a good father. I'm called to be a good dad. That's the same thing. Called to be a good husband, right? I'm called to be a good father. And when sports is like, no, I'm not going to deal with you because I'd rather watch this game right now or whatever, like that's your calling, right? This is what we're called to do as Christians, and I'm called to be a good citizen.
Yeah.
The whole verse, give to Caesar what is Caesar's and give to God what is God, is not, it's not an exemption from, getting involved in, like I said, being a good citizen. Actually, it's the opposite. It's calling you to be that. And when those things take that place, that's when this stuff becomes bad. And so, there's not a clear, well, if you watch, more than 2 hours of sports on TV, then it's become an idol. That's not, there's no clear delineation. You know when you've allowed these things to take God's place in your life. Yeah. And so, that's what this episode's about, is to encourage you to start taking a look at these things and saying, which ones have taken the place of God in my life, and what do I need to do about that?
Yeah. No, it's good. Well, hopefully you stuck it out with us. If you're here, you win. It's a painful episode, but put somebody else through it too. Share it, punish them.
That's right. I said through this, you should too.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Get uncomfortable. Get uncomfortable listening to these two yahoos.
Here we go. But man, we're grateful for you guys. Grateful that you did engage with us today. And again, we just want to remind you, share our content for real. Help us to grow the base here and our voice in the community. And like, subscribe, all of those things to what we're doing here. But we will see you guys right back here next week.